morning, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I, Carrie Pruitt, call the Student Attendance Advisory Committee meeting to order on March 13th, 2006 at 9 a.m. We have roll call, please.
Carrie Pruitt,
Here.
Shauna Baker,
Present.
Charles Agobot,
Here.
Lacey Keeley,
Present.
Catherine Kyler,
Present.
Danielle Valancourt.
Present.
Thank you.
And 2.01, which is approval of the minutes of the December 19th meeting of the Student Attendance Advisory Committee. Possible action. Do we have any discussion on minutes? Any public comment?
There's none.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve minutes?
Lacey Kill for the record, may I approve?
Shauna Baker, second. Thank you. Now we shall vote. All in favor of approving the minutes? And-
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye. All in favor? And any opposed?
They have to actually verbalize that they're in favor.
So all in favor, and then they have to verbalize yes.
Oh, I thought I heard everyone,
Oh,
sorry.
I didn't hear anything.
Let's do it again. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to item 2.02, which is an update on the, excuse me, Washington County School District Intervention Department supports to reduce chronic absenteeism for presentation and discussion.
Good morning, everyone. Rochelle Murillo for the record. Today we're going to highlight our Student Attendance Review Board and some of the things that we're doing. We wanted to give you a little bit more information about that. Some of you have actually participated in what we call SARB. SARB is part of our Nevada Revised Statute 392. It requires that school districts convene to discuss with families when students are chronically absent. This year we've been working with students that are primarily severely chronically absent. We've studied this particular process over the years to try to make it better and to try to improve our overall effectiveness of what we're doing. To remind you, we do meet with elementary schools every Wednesday, and Thursdays are our middle and high school SARBs. They are interdisciplinary teams where we meet together with a family, the school, and a variety of other folks, including counselors, social workers. We do have a student health services director on there. Juvenile services is represented at the middle and high school SARBs and human services agency. And the perspective is that we are developing a plan that we can move forward with to address any barriers to attendance. And improve that attendance, obviously. And then we have our SARB case managers, and we have a couple here today. Well, actually, we have all three. I didn't see you come in, Hector, sorry. All three of them are here today. They provide 45 days of case management where they're providing really intensive case management to reduce that chronic absenteeism of that student. And so I'm going to invite them up here today. They're going to feature a couple of things that they've been doing today. So go ahead, come on up. Is it Anna?
Are you going to have them tell their stories first, and we might need a presentation?
You go ahead first, and then Anna can come up. Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is Doug Taylor. He is our attendance manager, and he's been overseeing SARB today.
And do you have a presentation?
I don't.
Send it
Okay.
to you. I can do it without it.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Put my glasses on so I can see this little screen. Hi, everyone. So we just wanted to kind of give you a general update in terms of what SARB is, what we do in SARB, and kind of some data and some research that we've been doing with how SARB goes. So As Rochelle mentioned, these are the student attendance and elementary student attendance review boards. They're part of NRS. We do these for all students, or any students in grades 1 through 10, who we've identified meeting some criteria that we'll talk about in a minute. The purpose of the board is to identify any barriers to attendance. One of the things that we strongly believe is that attendance in and of itself is not a problem. Attendance is a symptom of problems, right? And we really need to identify what those problems are and address those root causes in order for us to really address the attendance issue. SARB is not meant to be punitive in any way. We don't assign consequences as part of SARB. I have no SARB jail. Once in a while somebody will come to, oh yeah, Doug's gonna really lower the hammer. Well, I don't have a hammer and I don't want a hammer. So it's not about that. We get referrals made to SARB by school site administrators or by school counselors. And they generally are meant to happen when several criteria have been met. The first of those is that the students must be chronically absent, meaning they've missed at least 10% of their school year. Most of the time they've missed more than that by the time they come to SARB, but at least that much. We do require that sites have attempted some site-based interventions, and we ask for 3 site-based interventions to have happened before that. We've talked with this board before about the toolkit that we have available for schools to be able to design intervention plans for kids. And so we ask that they've attempted some tier 2 and some tier 3 interventions. Those have not been successful, because if they had been, we wouldn't be coming to SARB, right? We ask that at least 50% of a formal attendance monitor with our attendance officers or our re-engagement specialists have happened prior to a SARB referral, because we want to give that process an opportunity to work at that point. And then we also ask that school staff have had at least one meeting, or attempted to have at least one meeting with parents and guardians in the current school year prior to coming to SARB. We don't like SARB to be the first contact that families have with school staff. Sometimes it happens where families have tried, or schools have tried to reach out to families and just haven't gotten them. But they at least try those. This year we've made some changes to SARB. So those are our required criteria, but based on some studies that we did internally and also some work that we did with RDL West Ed, we looked at some additional criteria that we felt would make SARB the most effective. And so we kind of looked at for which cases in the past have we had the most success. And so we added some we call these additional considerations. They're not required criteria. We will take students that don't necessarily meet these considerations, but this is where SARB has been shown to be kind of the most effective. And some of those include, we found that when we get students between 15 and 50% absenteeism, we tend to be more effective than if we're looking at students that are at 80, 90% absenteeism. And that just has to do with earlier interventions tend to be more effective than later interventions. Students who are on formal probation, who are working with probation officers, we kind of consider probation a step beyond SARB. And so if they're working with probation, there are typically requirements around probation that students have to attend school. So not that we won't see a student or work with a student on formal probation, but we ask that process be working its way towards resolution, if that makes sense. If behavior or if legitimate medical concerns are the primary reason for absence, those also tend to not be great fits for SARB. We're not doctors, we're not going to be able to solve a medical problem. And we have some other avenues that we work with through like our MTSS team for behaviors. So we tend to find, again, that SARB is most effective when those other considerations have been taken into account when a referral is made. When we have a hearing, we just had a bunch of hearings yesterday, as Rochelle mentioned, we do those every Wednesday and Thursday. So when we have a hearing, kind of what that looks like is we get school team members, we get the family, we get the student, we get all of our outside agencies and other district personnel together, and we ask that team to kind of share with us their perspective. We get the school's perspective, we get the family's perspective, we get the student's perspective. What's been making attendance hard? We try to identify barriers through that. We have our board members. Our board typically has between 8 and 12 team members on it, depending on the case and who's there and those kinds of things. But the team kind of works in an interview process this year, and so we just go around our table. Everybody kind of takes turns asking questions, providing solutions, talking to parents, talking to students, and trying to come up with a good idea. Through that process, we identify those barriers, and when we identify a barrier, then we try to come up with a solution to that barrier. We tend to find that as I've mentioned with this board before, a lot of the times we need to look at things like school connectedness, trusted adult relationships, peer relationships, academic insecurity, those kinds of things that are big barriers for kids. Sometimes we find other things, transportation and additional possibilities. By the end of the hearing or during the hearing, we write up a formal written plan for here are some barriers we've addressed. We look at academics, we look at social and emotional supports, and we look at other resources that we can offer to families, especially around basic needs. We do a lot of work with our family resource centers and outside community agencies when those kinds of things are barriers. We make sure that the school and the family gets copies of that written plan, and then our case managers, who you'll be talking to in just a minute, work with that family. They check in on at least a once-a-week basis to check in with the student, to check in with the family, to make sure that the steps that we come up with in the plan are working. Our typical results and kind of what those look like, one of the things that we really try to emphasize is that real change takes time. Most of the time, by the time a student has come to SARB, it's been a little bit of an established pattern of behavior. Sometimes it is an established pattern of behavior that goes back years. And so, we don't expect that you're going to go from 50% chronic absenteeism to perfect attendance overnight just because you came to a SARB hearing, right? But what we do work on is goal setting. We spend a lot of time working on setting goals with kids, setting goals with families, working with schools, and then celebrating those small successes, right? We monitor that attendance weekly. The re-engagement facilitators send reports to the schools to say, hey, this is what happened last week, this is what happened in the next week. We work with families, and when we do see those small improvements, we make sure we call those out. A 5% improvement to chronic absenteeism during the course of 45-day case management is considered to be really good. And sometimes people go, 5%, that doesn't sound like very much. But when you think about 5% of a school year, well, really, that's like 9 days. And that's over a whole year. So that's, if you've gone from, hey, I'm missing 3 days a week to I'm missing 2 days a week, that's actually a pretty big improvement. And so we like to celebrate those things. What our data looks like, so this is as of February 26th was the last time I pulled data. And so as of February 26th, on that date, our case managers were actively managing 49 open SARB cases. That means kids that we had worked with this year. There were still 49 of those open as of that date. We've held 45 full SARBs this year. We've held 18 e-SARBs this year as of that date. And in the last 2 weeks, both Wednesday and Thursday were booked up. So we are continuing to hold SARBs each week. SARB referrals are currently coming in. As of February 26th, we are booked through the end of March. As of today, we're pretty much booked through the end of this school year. May 7th is the last day we do SARBs, and we might have like 1 or 2 slots still open, but we're pretty well booked. And that's intentional. We sent out some information in our department connections to site leaders here about 3 weeks ago to say, hey, we've got SARB, if you're going to do it, now's the time, because we really don't want to get a referral in May. By that time, it's too late for us to really make a difference, right? So we're really happy about that. In terms of our research finding, we looked at, like I said before, we worked with WCSD and REL, and they were looking for us at data from 2022 through 2024. They looked at a number of research questions, but we're still kind of working on getting the final version of that results. We have some preliminary results right now. And a couple of interesting things. I had expected that we would see significant differences based on subgroups of students and student population groups. And we do see some of those. We see higher instances of SARB for students living in foster care. We see higher instances of SARB referrals for students with truancies. What we don't see, which I was really happy about, is significant differences based on race, ethnicity, gender, or school suspension data. So when you look at all of our SARB referrals over that period of time, we're really not seeing those kinds of differences, which I was really happy about. We do, of course, see some disproportionality in terms of absenteeism among some of those student groups, but not in terms of SARB referrals. Internally, we've been doing some work on how SARB is most effective too, and looking at data from 23 through 25. And that one has also been interesting. We wanted to look at the timing of the SARB and what difference that makes. We wanted to look at what their severity rate was prior to entering SARB and what difference that makes, and then any changes in trends we might have seen over time. And interesting little bit of data there is that, and it wasn't really surprising, but it's good to be able to back up, is that looking at those 3 years of data, the one thing we find really makes a big difference is the earlier we get the interventions started, the bigger difference they make. Which didn't come across, as I said, as a huge surprise, but helps us back that up and helps us really kind of push for earlier referrals to be made by schools, which is what's happening this year. We've been really happy about that. So now I just really want to give you a chance to meet one of our re-engagement facilitators. Anna Lamelli has been working with our department for about 10 years. For the last 3 years, she's been a SARB e-SARB case manager, and her role right now focuses on supporting students and families, working to identify barriers and helping connect families and students to the resources they need to stay engaged in school. Would you like to come and join us?
Good morning, Anna Lamelli for the record. I'd like to share a couple stories of families that I've worked with. The first one that I'll share involves a 4th grader. He was served last school year. He's now in 5th grade. This student lives with his young single mother, and she has faced many challenges, challenges that involve establishing consistent, age-appropriate boundaries and expectations at home. Because she works the graveyard shift, it often is the responsibility of the student to wake himself up, get ready, and make it to the bus stop on time. Because of this, he's had a lot of tardiness and absences because he often oversleeps. So that's a huge challenge for him. Additional concerns when he came to SARB were limited supervision, the absence of a consistent bedtime routine, and incomplete homework assignments. With targeted interventions and ongoing support, significant progress has been made. The student is now improving both academically and socially through collaborative efforts between the school, his mother, and myself. Positive changes have been implemented at home that are helping the student do a lot better in school, and his overall engagement has improved. I would like to recognize the staff at Donner Springs Elementary for their consistent support of both the student and the mother. Their dedication has played a critical role in their success, and I'm pleased to share that this student has now joined the school soccer team and is very excited to be playing with his peers. The second story involves twins. They were served during the 4th quarter of their 8th grade year at Bond. I was fortunate to work with them during the summer as they made their transition to high school. Each student faced challenges, including negative peer influences, conflict with teachers, and an overall lack of motivation to attend school. At the same time, they were coping with their parents' divorce. They expressed anger at the whole situation, and often they attempted to upset their father by not going to school or engaging fully. Their father is a construction worker who leaves home at 5 in the morning. He remained very committed and supportive and was willing to collaborate with us. He made himself available regardless of his demanding work schedule. He made himself available for phone calls, meetings, and often took time away from work to transport his students when they missed the school bus. The students responded well to structured support, including incentives and also weekly check-in meetings where we talked about challenges, we set goals, and also they received a lot of coaching for effective communication with teachers. I'm pleased to report that both of these students are doing very well. Since their referral to SARB, their chronic absenteeism has decreased significantly. One of those students was at 74% chronic absenteeism, and he's now less than 2% chronic absenteeism, so that was a huge gain. And they're both doing great, both academically and behaviorally.
Are there any questions?
No questions, just inspiring work. Danielle Davenport for the record, I'm so sorry. These type of stories make me want to cry tears of joy, so good work, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Carrie Crook for the record, I just also wanted to say we appreciate what you do so much. I think that the environment, I've participated in a few SARBs over the years, and it's nice to see an environment that's not punitive, where people come together and say, what can we do to help your family, you know? And I think that's, a lot of people may not expect that, you know, a lot of their kids, families, and I think that's it's refreshing, and it's a great brainstorm session also, and then your work continues beyond that, and I know that's a great partner, especially when we work together with you. You're doing case management, so are our workers, and it's just a great team effort, and we just, you know, a lot of times you guys are the adult in their lives, that they trust at school. So we just appreciate what you do, and just glad it's working.
Thank you.
Okay, just want to thank Doug for taking the lead on SARB this year, and then all the work that Anna and Nisa and Hector have done. They're in the audience as well. It takes a lot of work, and it's intensive work, and it takes a lot of time, but we can see these great improvements when we're able to really address the needs of our families. But it takes a lot of individualized resource brokering and relationship building with both the family and the student, and that's what this team does. So I appreciate them and want to thank them also.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay, moving on. We are at item 2.03, which is presentation and discussion to provide an update on recognitions of school efforts to reduce chronic absenteeism and possible action to provide potential recommendations to the Board of Trustees and to address strategies to further reduce truancy and chronic absenteeism in the Washington County School District.
Okay, this is me, Rochelle Morel, for the record. This is as a reminder to the council, this is a standing agenda item that allows you to make any recommendations, an action item. You don't have to do it today. You don't have to make a recommendation or vote on an action. But I did want to highlight one school. Continue to say that schools are doing a lot of great work. They're doing a lot of school site work. They're doing a lot of the work that you hear that Anna and Hector and Nisa are doing, and Doug, at a school site level as well. And I want to highlight one today that one of our attendance officers actually wanted to sort of nominate as the highlighted school, and that is Whitehead. This is an elementary school, and I'm going to read to you what she wrote. Jerry Whitehead Elementary demonstrates a strong commitment to attendance intervention through a collaborative and organized team approach. The principal, dean, counselor, and front office staff all participate in monthly attendance meetings where student progress is reviewed and documented in Infinite Campus and a shared tracking spreadsheet. The school also promotes a positive culture around attendance through weekly classroom incentives and rotating quarterly incentive themes that keep students engaged. Simple rewards such as the popular popcorn party called Look Who's Popping In highlight students who are working hard to improve on maintain their attendance. This motivates students across all grade levels. In addition, students identified in the chronically absent attendance cohort meet one-on-one with a member of the leadership team to set goals and address barriers. Tools like Check and Connect stamp monitors help students visually track their progress. Individual rewards are provided for meeting these goals. Through these efforts, the team at Jerry Whitehead actively supports our district's mission. And then I just want to share one thing. It's a point of data reference. In the 2024 school year, the Jerry Whitehead Elementary School had a chronic absenteeism rate of 18.53. And then last year they ended at 10.59. So we're really proud of the work that they did. That's a lot of work, and that's a huge significant drop in chronic absenteeism. So we wanted to highlight them today. Any questions about any of the work that schools are currently working on or focusing on for chronic absenteeism?
Sean Baker for the record. I know that Doug mentioned some different efforts in how we're addressing, right, there's mandatory and then non-mandatory. What resources have you guys provided that you've seen an increase in how schools are reporting, or what schools themselves, not just your guys' team, have used for reporting or engagement in that sense? And has there been an increase or a decrease, or is there something that we need to be doing to retrain schools so that we have that connection?
Right, so this year at Academy we've had several different trainings for principals around data and how to utilize data, what data points can they pull, what's the most effective data around chronic absenteeism. So that's one. Our team also has done a lot of training with principals. We've met one-on-one with the attendance teams too. Right now, our attendance officers and our re-engagement specialists are assigned to every school. So they have about 10 to 15 schools on their caseload, but they try their best to attend and coach through some of these attendance meetings as well. So for schools who are really making attendance a priority for them, we're seeing those huge drops. They're looking at their data. They're talking about that, they're prioritizing, and they're looking through a multi-tiered systems of support framework to decide which interventions are most appropriate. A lot of times at elementary school, it's around those attendance competitions and those kinds of things. But at a middle and high school, it's really kind of thinking about like groups of students at a tier 2 and then individualized supports at a tier 3, where we can provide those supports that are most appropriate for students based on the root cause. So we're really thinking about what is the cause. If it's motivation, there's more to it. If you peel back the onion, there's really, the layers of the onion, right? There's a reason why students are not motivated. So addressing that reason why a lack of motivation is occurring. Also, leveraging communities. That's something that schools are seeing that is really effective as well. We have been utilizing family resource centers to address some of those basic needs sorts of things. Housing is becoming a huge issue, lack of ability to afford rent. So we're seeing lots of transiency for families, so trying to address that and building some capacity around sustainable or long-term access to housing. So we've been working on that, access to food, those kinds of things. So we're looking at systemic things, and then schools are also looking at bringing in community resources as well. And then they really need to build their systems where they're looking all the time at their data, and they're trying to figure out what do we need to do to respond and address these issues. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. I was just trying to find out if we needed to provide more to the schools so that you guys are receiving the data that you need to be able to do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Carrie Pruitt for the record. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I wanted to continue to give a shout out to the intervention department for bringing in extra support. We have Andrew Hartman this year, and one of his he works for the school district, and he works directly for Claire under the intervention department, Rochelle.
Just to clarify, he's a foster liaison, so he's targeting students in foster care.
Yes, foster liaison, sorry, put my foster hat on. And one of his primary responsibilities is to work on chronic absenteeism. So we work together on that. We have a shared spreadsheet. We meet with the workers, and so we have meetings to kind of have our mini intervention discussions on what we can do to support the foster home, the student, and what those gaps are. And that includes reaching out to additional school district staff at times, asking for an attendance officer to be more involved. So that's working really well. It's difficult when our kids are not engaged to get them more interested in going back to school, especially the longer, like Doug mentioned, the longer they've been out, the harder it is to go back because they're behind and they're uncomfortable and they feel singled out. So just to get them connected again, and a lot of times it is the trusted adult, the school attendance officer, or the re-engagement folks. So it's just one thing we work on continuously.
Great, and thank you for saying that. And to your point, the reason why we ended up hiring a foster liaison is because we are looking at our data and we see that our students in foster care and also our students that are homeless have the highest rates of chronic absenteeism in our school district. And they're the most severely chronically absent students in our school district. So in response to that data, we hired a foster liaison to continue to see, can we improve this, these rates? What else can we do to help students in foster care?
an action item, so do we have any public comment that's received on it?
We have no public comment.
Okay. Let's go on to item 2.04, which is presentation and discussion of celebrations and successes of the work attendance officers do for students through the Washington County School District.
Okay, we wanted to sort of highlight also what attendance officers and re-engagement specialists are doing in the field right now. And so we have two of our rock stars in the audience that are going to come up right now to share with us some of the success stories that they are doing. Again, attendance officers work with students that are 7 to 19% chronically absent, and re-engagement specialists work with students that are 19 and over. And we've fluctuated a little bit with that. We've tried to play with that a little bit. The reason why we did 7 is because those students are approaching being chronically absent, so we're trying to move to a more like intervention model. But a lot of times what they do is they provide case management, but they also do formal attendance monitors where they're meeting with students once a week. They're providing incentives when we see improvements in attendance. But they're also thinking of different ways of, sometimes the zone school is just not an appropriate site. It's just not successful for a student. So maybe something like Job Corps would be something more appropriate for students where they can be successful. So they give them options as well. They do a lot of work. So we have Ray Jean-Baptiste, who has been attendance officer for how many years?
For the record, I want to say 18 or 19 years.
Yeah. And then we have brand new rock star, David Luna, who is a re-engagement specialist. So I think you've been here 6 months. And they are going to share with you a couple of their success stories. So it's all you.
For the record, once again, my name is Ray Jean-Baptiste, and it's an honor to be here to highlight some of our students that we serve. The two students I am highlighting have had significant attendance issues in the past school year as well as current. The first student I'm highlighting had declines of attendance where the student absenteeism rate was floating around 18%. The referral to potentially working with this student came from support staff from an in-house agency at my school site called CIS, which is Community Schools. My initial interaction was when I performed a home visit with my CIS staff to see why the student was refusing to attend school. The visit was performed, and it was led by a parent answering the door and stating that her student has been ill. At that point, the student had been unverified as well as confirmed truant for quite some time. When suggested to parent due to excessive medicals on potentially having student checked by the doctor, mom didn't express having difficulty paying the medical bill. Realizing that things may escalate, we then ended the conversation and left the residence. The student was then placed on a 45-day attendance monitor once she returned to school. While being placed on attendance monitor, it allowed me to case manage and check in with the student at least once a week. Goals and incentives were also put in place in hopes that this will help motivate the student in improving attendance. The student started off at 18% and ended her attendance monitor at 13%, with attendance mostly being tardies. This following 25-26 calendar year, the student current absenteeism rate currently is at 7.87%. The second student I would like to highlight, have had the pleasure for working with him throughout the middle and high school campaign. The student was living with his elderly grandparent due to poor cards dealt in his life. Through our struggles, I was able to help connect the student through support agencies such as Project 150 for clothing insecurities, as well as local pantries for food boxes for food support. Due to my traumas in my life, I hope someday I could try to help this student break barriers like this living situation, since the student did not have anyone else to support him if anything were to happen to his aging guardian. The student did not see a reason to finish high school due to his circumstances. I didn't realize his best option would be to enroll him at Sierra Nevada Job Corps, since this student would be able to continue his education and have living situations addressed. I was able to help the student enroll at Job Corps where he is currently attending. Thank you.
For the record, my name is David Luna. Thank you for having me. I am a re-engagement specialist, and I am in my 6th month. I am the newest re-engagement specialist. I was trained by Ray and Marlon, who both have about 18 years of experience, so I was blessed in that regard. The reason why I'm choosing to talk about this one student is because he was the very first student after I learned how to use Big, which was a task in its own. So once I learned how to pull reports off Big and pull reports off vanished students, I called this student. It was the very first student I called, and he answered. And I kept it brief. I kept it short. I let him know that he wasn't going to school, and I kind of asked him why, and he was having troubles at his school, which is the Booster Vertical, and I gave him a few different options as far as getting back re-engaged into school. So what I did tell him about Job Corps, and I did catch his eye, and we scheduled a tour for Job Corps, which is we do them every Wednesday. And so I picked him up early. We went, and I could tell he was a little nervous, but I was a little nervous too because it was one of my first tours at Job Corps. And so when we were doing the tour, I was kind of hyping himself up, but then I was really kind of hyping myself up because I didn't know that Job Corps offered so many things for the special price of free, which is amazing. And so, on the way back to his house, we're talking about it, and I painted a picture of what life would look like if he didn't get a high school diploma. And I painted the picture of all the types of jobs that he would get, which is, in my opinion, would be like a warehouse job or fast food, or I was kind of joking, but maybe a manager at In-N-Out, okay? And so kind of painting the picture for him, but I dropped him off and tried to stay in touch with him, and as kids do, they fall off. And that's where it kind of became a little bit harder for me to stay re-engaged with him. I would show up to his house, he wouldn't answer. I would text him, no reply. Phone calls, no answer. But this is where I think the power of persistence kind of came into play. I sent him a text message letting him know, a little bit of a heartfelt message saying, "Hey man, I'm coming from a place of support. I'm coming from a place of love, and I want to help you as much as I can, but I can only lead you to the water. You have to drink it." And he replied. He liked it. He loved it. And we set him up with one of the coordinators at Job Corps. And from there, he fell off again. And this whole process probably took about 3.5 months. And for me, it was I keep using the power of persistence as the word that I want to use because these kids it's not going to be the first attempt to getting them. It's going to take multiple attempts to try to get these kids. And finally, we got him across the finish line. I took him on his first day to Job Corps. He was nervous. He was kind of excited, but nervous. And I was excited for him. We took a picture together, and as my first kid that I kind of got across the finish line, and it was amazing. As a new re-engagement specialist, you want to see some success and see what it looks like, and that was a big one for me. So I do check in on him, and I go to Job Corps on these other tours, and I ask about him, and he is going every single day, which we were a little worried about. He goes every single day. He's excited, and he's part of the welding group. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ray and David. Are there any questions for these gentlemen?
Catherine Kyler for the record. Not questions, but just more of an appreciation. I've worked with juvenile services for over 20 years and have been able to see what you guys do for our kids in the community. It's just a special little niche that you guys have, and we meet with so many kids, and unfortunately when they're not at school, they usually can find themselves getting in trouble. And so the fact that you guys go to houses and you check on them and kind of are an extra face, and it's the relationships that you build with them. It's not just a knock on the door, it's the care. I think, Ray, you worked with one of my kids within the last year, and you helped him get on the wrestling team, and it was pretty cool to see how excited he was. And I asked him why he did it, and he was like, "Well, Ray told me I should." And I heard that you had called him, and I think you might have even shown up to one of his meets. And so it wasn't just a knock on the door to make sure he was going to school. You had shown him an actual care in his life. And so that's just a special story that I have about Ray. But there were so many other re-engagement specialists and workers that have been with the school district that have significantly impacted our kids. And for them to have a little bit of success in their life, going to school sometimes is a huge win for them. And so for the fact that you guys are helping them do that is pretty special. So mostly just thank you. I know it's been substantial in helping our kids get off of probation and have a thought of a successful future. So I appreciate you guys, all of you.
Danielle Valencourt for the record. If you don't mind me asking, what other partners do you guys work with other than the Family Resource Center and Job Corps? Who are your kind of like main references for children other than Job Corps? Does that make sense?
Are we seeing as far as like options or?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, so besides Job Corps, we work close with Innovations. I have kind of a shoe in as far as that connection. So I try to figure out what's the barrier as far as a child. It could be mental health. It could be, hey, I'd rather have a smaller environment. So Innovations is kind of my connection. We also look into Encompass Academy, which is I want to say a charter, if I'm correct. And so that's another that we use too. So I kind of like just kind of shuffle, you know, just kind of get a feel of what's going on and stuff. If the kid's like, hey, I want to get into trades, hey, this is where I know this is the best one. It's for free. You're not paying for anything. You get paid for this. You get paid for this. Such program and stuff, and then just gear in towards that direction. So I want to say Encompass, Innovations, Job Corps, and we're always in the community trying to find other ones, you know, if we can, you know, we're just constantly trying to add on to our, I want to say Black Book, I guess, if that's the word.
Do you want to share with them some of the resources that you access for kids, like Project 150?
Absolutely. So besides the education side, you know, every kid has, we all have challenges, and, you know, we're the first in line as far as seeing what we really see as far as teachers or admin not seeing in the home. So as far as clothing insecurities, we work with a program called Project 150. It's a nonprofit that we have here. Wonderful program. The women are wonderful there. They take care of our kids when we get them. It's a small boutique that we have here, and kids go in empty-handed and come out with 4 or 5 bags of clothing and food. We also work with Katie Gray's Foundation, which is another one. Another connection we have in the community. I've gotten furniture for family. Myself and my partner David have helped break barriers as far as furniture, you know, so that's another connection we access. I can't think of any other ones that we
Children's Cabinet.
The Children's Cabinet.
Children's Cabinet.
Sorry, Lacey. Children's Cabinet as well. And our Family Resource Centers. I definitely tap into my Family Resource Centers. I currently work with a family right now, and I'm gonna probably deliver the food and bus pass for such family. But we work around the community. We always are trying to look, you know, and then just add on to our Black Book as far as supporting our family. But these are the ones that we definitely use on a daily basis.
And just to add on to that, the Family Resource Center, I thought it was just somewhere where you could get food. I was working with a kindergartner, and the school was really concerned about this kid not coming to school. So I do a home visit, and I meet with the mom, and I sit down with her outside at one of the motels, and they're about to get evicted, literally the next day. And me being me, I'm just taking in all the information, not exactly sure what I can do with it at this point, but I know that I have people that I can lean on. But one of the things that she had mentioned was that the kindergartner still thinks that Christmas is coming. I was like, whoa. So I reached out to our whole team, and everyone banded together, brought clothes, toys, and Family Resource Center ended up paying their past due balance, and they're doing great now. It was amazing.
Thank you, gentlemen.
For the record, I've always said this is not a job for me. It's my career, but I don't wake up saying, "Gosh, I gotta go to work." It's an honor to serve this community. It's an honor to serve our littles, you know, and just try to break barriers. So I love what I do and stuff. And my partner here too, I always want to shout him out because I realize he comes in and just asks questions and he just want to learn and stuff and do his own thing. But you know, we're all in this together. It's a tribe. Where's our kids? So, but it's definitely an honor to be in this position to help our families.
Okay, I just want to finish, thank you. I really, we don't always see what my team does, but it is really one of the honors of my life to work with my team. They do so much behind the scenes, and they build so many relationships, and I've seen them deliver mattresses because the student doesn't have anywhere to sleep. Just those kinds of things that really make a difference in somebody's life. They just work so hard. Every single one of you here works so hard, and I really appreciate you guys. And I just wanted to take the time at this meeting to recognize some of their work. So thank you for the questions and the comments.
Carrie Britt, for the record, thank you again. We just really appreciate you and all your work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're coming to the close of our meeting. I'd like to check and make sure we don't have any additional public comment.
I just want to say one thing under public comment, Rochelle Muriel for the record. I do want to recognize and welcome Chief Baker. She joins us today. We're very honored to have you on our council, so thank you for being here. And then we also have one other new committee member that was approved on Tuesday by the Board of Trustees, and that is Dr. Tammy Golden Bosco, and she will be here next time, and you'll be able to get to meet her. And then we will have a full committee.
Thank you, everyone. This brings our meeting to a close, and our next meeting will be June 5th, 2026. 9 a.m. Same bat time, place. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles. Hope you feel better.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.